Yo, what's up, guys? This is Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Casty. I'm one of the HCS commentators, analysts, and grassroots creators, and we have another HCS report where today we're talking about native gaming dropping Kuhlect. And when you have news this big, you already know we gotta bring in the big dog. We gotta bring in Wes Price Clutch, who's here with me. Couldn't get his video working, but it's a great picture of him. Wes, how you feeling today?
Hey, you couldn't get my video working. Don't put this on me. I'm already known to be technologically disabled. But I'm doing good. In shock of a lot of the changes, especially coming in what feels like pretty late after the event. Usually, when you see team changes, it's the week or two after an event. People tend to know that they want to make a change and jump straight to it. So the fact that these have taken some time to kind of take place, especially the ladder and Sparties, like that is a massive change. I think that I wasn't sure was going to happen. So excited to kind of break it down, see kind of what speculation we have as far as where people will end up and what's the impact on the scene that this has. Because as you know, when someone on one of these top four teams, even though Sentinels did get top 16, I'm still going to put them up towards the top there. When someone like Spartan becomes a free agent, all of a sudden people will be making team changes to pick up a talent like that. And what does that do to the rest that are below them? It becomes a hurricane in effect. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and guys, we're gonna be talking about this Spartan situation after this video. So if you're watching this video right now, stay tuned because later on today there's gonna be another video dropping, and it's gonna be all about Sparty. But as far as Kuhlect, I'm thinking, fast sensitivity, really exciting to watch and really likable. A lot of people are huge fans of Kuhlect and his gameplay. It's just fun to watch. On top of that, we look at the stats, which I'll bring up right here on screen. Averaging 17 kills a game as far as at Arlington, averaging second most damage, literally right behind McWin, and being that main damage dealer. You said it yourself, a lot of times when teams look to make any team change whatsoever, they want to do it immediately. But what do you think? What do you think was the springboard? What do you think caused this to happen? I mean, Kuhlect no longer on native gaming.
Yeah, I think it's a performance issue, and not an individual performance, but an overall team performance. Like, this team hasn't performed well across the board when it comes to the event, when it comes to scrims online, and all of these are red flags when they're consistently, I would say, underperforming what expectations are. And it looks like Kuhlect is going to be the player that they deem is the one that they're going to try to move off of and pick someone up to find a more consistent, higher ceiling, or like, I guess, a consistent floor in that fact. Because I think everybody, when you talked about him, I mean, Kuhlect has a high ceiling. It's just, could this team find a level of consistency with these four players? And I think that's something that Native always struggled with. And it doesn't surprise me that they made a change. I'm not part of the team in order to be able to tell you what needs to change, but it makes sense from a level of underperforming consistently that something had to give.
I mean, we're looking at the stats right now: 4-10, 28.6% win percentage. An average of 91, a .91 KD. Obviously, something had to change. I think back to when Sentinels first dropped Kuhlect, and it felt like they just wanted to go a bit of a different play style, and maybe they wanted to slow the game down and just play a bit of a different brand of Halo than what they were playing with their previous roster. Can you see something like that with native gaming? Maybe just stylistically, there was a clash there.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think of McWin, when I think of even the rest of the team, like, Kuhlect is an outlier as far as the pace that he plays at, and we've seen that pace have a lot of high success. There's players in the HCS that you can compare to how Kuhlect plays, like Bound and Legend, and a lot of like our faster paced players, I would say. But unless the entire team's like formed around those players and like has the same understanding of capitalizing on those situations, then it doesn't really pay off. And that player ends up getting kind of like caught out alone if he's not on the same page. So I don't think it's an individual like if Kuhlect could have been more passive, because I like the way Kuhlect plays Halo Infinite specifically, and I think that the 4 play styles on this team didn't merge and find the level of Halo that they needed to in order to have success against the top 6. I think that this is definitely something that when they're looking for a new player, I do not think that they will have a pickup of someone that is that like aggressor, that like high pressure flying player that we know Kuhlect to be. It probably will be a much slower role, and does that complement the rest of the team's playstyle? Maybe.
And whoever does end up taking that spot, I mean, you got some big shoes to fill. Not only in the stats department, I would imagine, but also just like in the public eye. Like I said, Kuhlect high sensitivity, high FOV, really fun to watch, which makes him a very easily likable player. I'm a huge fan myself. I tune into his streams all the time again because it is that fun to watch. When we and for those of you guys at home, when we talk about native gaming not exactly hitting the ceiling that we expected, not exactly hitting the places they expected. We go even going back to the Arlington major qualifier. I'm looking here, top 12, which isn't the worst in the world. But when you look at native gaming, I look at native gaming, I think of a team that should be legitimately contending for top 4. Where I would say top 12 is a bit disappointing. I want to see them in that top 8, that top 6, and getting damn close to getting top 4 with that roster. Going into Arlington, we saw the exact same thing. And granted, I will say going into that major qualifier, I think they lost to us. Lost to a very good complexity roster in the winners bracket, and then I think eventually eventually losing to a Sentinels in that qualifier, which is 2 teams that you could argue to say that they, should have probably lost to. I'm going into the actual Arlington events. Big win on business, but we know they were playing with a sub. I would have liked to see them beat Foe. I think Foe were playing really good at that event, but I definitely think Foe were beatable in that pool, and Native ultimately could have left that in second place as far as in that pool. Going into bracket play again, we finish off in top 12. That's some of the placing difficulty that we were talking about with native gaming. We wanted to see more.
Yeah, when you're in native gaming, like you have players like APG that just got second at the most previous world championship. He won the last world championship. Completely different team, obviously, but you have Miquin, the historic career that he's had. Like these guys expect better than top 12, and when you get top 12, when you lose a series like you did to Foe, if we don't turn this around in this tournament, that there's going to be a team change. I mean, Halo has always been like that since I competed. Right, if I was on a team that had expectations of top 6 minimum, and we didn't get top 6, there was going to be some hard discussions had, and probably some changes. And I think that that's because the season is so short. Your window of capitalizing on your opportunity to make this a career where your income heavily comes from placing well, you have to be willing to make very difficult decisions. And in this case, when you lose that series to Foe and you end up getting top 12 because you gave yourself such a hard top 8 matchup, even it was almost the writing was on the wall in pool play for me that this team had underperformed online. They were hoping to go to the event and find that magic, that gel that that these players have found so often throughout their time. But when you lose that series, it was probably a pretty tough pill for those guys to swallow. And at that point, I think that you had to think that if we don't turn this around now, or in the elimination bracket, Native Gaming is probably going to make a change, or at least that's how my mindset was, which is kind of shocking why this didn't happen earlier, like shortly after the event. And I have no insight into Native Gaming and how their conversations go, but just speculating from teams that I was a part of and teams that I've seen throughout time have the ambitions and the the goals of having the level of success that they were not able to ever really achieve with this roster. Like, the season's too short. Something's got to change.
By the way, guys, we used the term dropped, even though when you look at the original tweet, it did say all good things must come to an end. Today we say goodbye to Kuhlect. We wish you the best K, and we'll never forget the memories we made together. Nothing on that tweet lets us know that whether he was dropped or not. But then the fact that Kuhlect tweets out that he's an unrestricted free agent literally a few hours ago makes me think that this is not him leaving and going to another roster, because I would have thought from there, obviously he probably would have had a plan if that was the case. I think Native Gaming have and or had a plan, and they're dropping him for somebody else that they may have in their sights. And if you can't answer this, I would say no comment. But is there any players or any players that maybe are standing out to that you would think may fit that Native Gaming roster?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of them. I mean, with the most recent news, that they would love to have someone like Spartan join the team. But I mean, there's so much talent, I feel like, individually in some of the top 6, top 8, top 12 teams, that Native Gaming probably has their pick of the litter with who they want outside of the top, we'll say 6, I would say. Like, people like Sab and people like Gilkey, guys that have teamed with them before and had major success. That's the kind of players that I think match up with these guys pretty well, because when you have APG Mikwin on the team, Barcode's fairly young in his career still, I feel, but APG and Mikwin are here for success now. Success needs to come the moment that this team forms. They're not going to spend a ton of time trying to develop someone, I don't think. And I don't think anyone from I know that It's the Last Shot on Business has been very impressive, but I don't think that he would leave his situation to come over to Native Gaming. So for me, it would have to be someone that these guys know, someone that has been in the scene a while, and someone in that top 8, top 12 area.
And as you started to name a few players, I think of another few players around that same tier. And there's so many possibilities that could be here for Native Gaming. And the real question becomes also, whatever move they make, is it going to bring them in an upward trajectory? Because if it's not, you got a lot of explaining to do. Like I said, in the public eye, Kuhlect is a very, very likable player. And whoever goes to that team is going to have very high expectations. And in the public eye, we're going to want to see results from that team kind of quickly. And if maybe that's unfair, but I feel like that's going to be the vibe around whoever Native Gaming pickup. Do you feel the same way as far as from the public eye, from the fan perspective?
I think from the fan perspective, they're always going to catch heat, because I think Kuhlect is definitely a highlight reel waiting to happen. We've seen so many different times where Kuhlect has made just a really special high level play, and so the image that he portrays is just some untapped talent that is waiting to burst on the right team. I think that this team knows that they felt like they probably got to a point where they couldn't figure it out with each other. They had been a team for a little bit now, and to not be able to find any level of a consistent floor that allowed them to stay competitive in some of the scrims. When they're scrimming some of the big dogs, they were getting slapped around. So I think that was a massive red flag, right? And I think that they want a complete makeover and play style change. And can one player do that? Maybe. I mean, there's no promises, like you said. Depending on who they pick up, like looking for that instant success, it's going to be a really difficult and a risk, honestly. But when you just came off of a top 12, like what are you actually risking? Like you can't get much worse. The only team you really beat was the one that played with the sub at the tournament. So it's like they I don't want to say they were at rock bottom, but they were pretty close to rock bottom as far as what their floor could be, just as skilled players as they are. They're gonna have to figure out like maybe a team change is what they need to rejuvenate like some of the energy, because right now I'm sure going into scrims with that team and whatnot, there's probably a lot of animosity as far as like, are we gonna sit here and get slapped for another 15 games, because of how like the journey has been for them. When you're not able to like at least trade some series out here and there against some of the big dogs and show that you can compete when you're playing well, that aura kind of lingers. And I think a team change at least gives opportunity to open up like the possibility for brighter days ahead.
We talked a little bit about what players could possibly fit on native gaming, and I'm thinking like on the opposite side of that, and where would Kuhlect fit in? And when when I think of the players I would love to see Kuhlect play with, I think of the soul snipes, the suppress, the drucks, the bandies, the last shots, the talents. The problem is that all of them have a team. And all of them seem kind of comfortable for the most part of where they're at right now. And so I'm trying to think to myself, like, where would I love to see Kuhlect go to and shine and find instant success and maybe the best version of that team that they can be? And outside of those players that I just named, now I'm like, okay, well, maybe the Sabs and Suspectors, but they're doing really good. Where do we go from here?
That's the big question: is who's willing to take a risk on Kuhlect, and how far does that list go down? And I mean, just looking at like the top six, like nobody in the top six is going to make a change. They're all locked up. Outside of obviously Sentinels. Sentinels have to pick somebody up with the recent news, and I know that'll be a separate video, but right now it's gotta be a Cloud9 or an LVT or maybe a complex, like not complexity, maybe the King Nick Tusk
Stainer doing Proton?
Yeah, maybe a Proton Gaming. I think he would fit in very well on those teams. But for Kuhlect, it's pretty tough right now because I think when I look at everybody inside the top six, I'm not quite sure who's going to make a team change for him. Sentinels could surprise us with a change of that manner, but I'm honestly not sold that they're going to pull the trigger there. I think that when you obviously a different discussion. It's hard to do this in 2 videos, but when you remove a player like Spartan, you don't do that without knowing exactly who you're picking up. So it'll be really interesting to see where Kuhlect ends up, because he is a talent that would be unbelievable for a lot of these teams that are in the top 12 trying to break into the top 8, top 6. And he's got some skill and the firepower to help them get there. It's just a matter of, are they in a situation right now, a month and a half before a tournament, contract-wise, are they willing to figure out a way to make Kuhlect happen, and for who? Because they probably weren't questioning, are they going to make a team change, up until some of these assets become available where you're like, well, if we don't do this, are we stupid? So.
Well, guys, a crazy day in Halo Rosetermania, and what has been a fairly quiet season so far, an early season, but still a fairly quiet one, has been crazy. Guys, we just finished talking about Kuhlect and native gaming separating. Next video, we're going to be talking about Sentinels and Sparty apparently doing the same. Right type of content, let me know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and show Wes Clutch some love. We're going to have his Twitter and all his information right down in the description down below. Make sure you guys show some love. And I guess part 2 of this video is coming up next. Peace out, guys.